Yep, one amazing bottle. So we started the recording. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes. There's only 12 of you guys in here right now, but I know other people are coming. So I know we say we're starting exactly at 7. Let's give it a minute or two to get started. One bottle tonight. And I will even go as far as to say it might be in your best interest to maybe grab an ice cube as well, because this is one of the few that I actually will drink with the whiskey stone.
Be right back.
I hate it when people listen to my suggestions. There goes Tony. Ken's gone. Geez, wow. Okay, well, I know how to clear a room out. You know, we are recording this, so they can all watch the event later. So I'm going to go ahead and put up our flavor wheel, and we can kind of start tasting this if y'all are in the mood. So we just like we always do, let's start off with nosing it. Well, first we look at the color, right? So what do we think? What? What do we think of the color on this? Is it darker?
I would say it's medium.
So it looks to me it's darker than what we've been seeing. I will tell you this one is Texas. So keeping that in mind, that color, where's the color come from?
Barrel. The
barrel. So maybe it's the char, maybe it's the age in the barrel, how long it sat in the barrel. What do you get on the nose? Nothing.
It is definitely spicy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can smell the burn on this one.
Okay. Any flavors you might be
Corn as well.
Cinnamon.
Baking spices.
Cinnamon, baking spices, cinnamon. That's good.
Maybe oak too.
I'm getting a lot of the wood out of it. Karis just mentioned oak. I'm getting a lot of the wood.
I was gonna say a woody spice.
Yeah. Sam, I see you agreeing with that. I'm gonna take a sip.
Oh,
And the first thing I notice is I get flavor across my palate. It like spreads, and I get a lot of grassy and then spice and then that kind of a sweetness almost.
I was going to say sweetness at the end. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
sweet. Yeah, it's a pleasant
It's
sweetness.
it's got a lot of flavor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Tongue evenly.
Mm. Yeah, the mouthfeel, it coats the tongue evenly. When you look at the legs on it, it's got some legs, so there's some oils in there. So looking at the flavor wheel, we're picking up kind of across the board. We hit wood, we hit grain, we hit spice, we hit sweet. I think we're picking up all of that off of this. So this would be a complex. Vanilla? Anyone else picking up vanilla? Caramel?
definitely vanilla on the
A
nose.
little bit of vanilla on the end there.
Yeah. Are anyone picking up any specific grains like corn? I'm looking at Jeff and I'm looking at Jeremy and some of you guys who I know have a little bit more tasting compared to like Eric.
I had corn on the nose. When I tasted it, the sweetness kind of came through almost like a nice sweet malted barley kind of finish to it.
Mm-hmm. Malted barley, that's a good one.
Barley too.
I gotta slow down. I'm gonna drink this whole damn glass.
Imagine that.
So any guesses on who we might be talking about here?
Ooh.
No.
And I know who
Right.
it's not.
All right, who is it not?
I don't think it's Balcones, but I think Balcones might have had a hand in helping these guys out.
Okay.
I was
This
just thinking
this
it's one
sweetness
we
I'm getting
probably
is
haven't had
really-
before.
Really
Andalusa?
similar.
Recently. Okay. And so who do you think that is, Jeremy?
It could be. I know it's something I've never had before at all. That's why I'm pretty sure I know that I don't know who they are.
Is it Striker or?
I think it's a little north of that, possibly. Because I'm getting
Okay.
a lot of like beer notes from the barley, so it could be the real ale guys.
I think it's Andalusia
Not sure.
Striker Cast Strength.
That's a good guess, Ben. Jeremy, you win, my friend. This is real. And let me introduce to you guys our Phil Barrel of the night. This is Davin Topel, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Davin, we need you to turn on your monitor there, buddy.
Hey, James, I apologize. I was a little late. Is this only a one bottle night?
It's a one bottle night, my friend.
Okay.
But I will tell you what, they have
Okay, so-
quite a selection, and I asked you guys maybe to grab a little rock. This is one that I actually very much enjoy on ice.
Like I can't get in. The host has stopped my video, so I need.
Oh,
some-
my host has stopped. Would you turn on his video? Start video.
Davin, did
There
you
you go. That's
All right. There's Davin Topel.
How's everybody doing?
Sorry, technical issues.
Nice
We have
job with
a-
the guest there, Jeff.
That's the whiskey in our hand. We're good.
Yeah, that was some pretty good.
That was some deep investigative work there. You work for the CIA or FBI?
So, Davin, tell us about this specific bottle that we have. And by the way, guys, I've got here's the bottle if you're looking up on the screen.
Yep.
This is your Distiller's Edition straight malt whiskey. But tell us what this is, because this is kind of special.
Yeah, so what the Distiller's Edition Straight Malt Whiskey is it's a 4-grain whiskey, first off. It is a malt whiskey because the malt is somewhere around 60% malted barley. The reason I say somewhere is because this is a mingling of 3 different whiskeys. I know the ratios of those. I would just have to do the exact equation to get the exact mash bill on this one. But so quick story, when I first started at Real Spirits 5 years ago, my background, for those of you who don't know, my background is I was a distiller over at High West where we made bourbon, rye, and peach vodka. We made a little bit of everything, but our babies were really our ryes. And so when I got to Real Spirits, they had let me know that I could not make a bourbon or a rye. The reason being is because we're going through a lauter tun. We have to go put all of my mashes through a beer system that has a lauter tun. And once you get too much corn or rye or wheat in that lauter tun, it's actually going to stick up the works. So again, when I started there, my brain started working, well, how can I get these components into a whiskey through their system? So I asked the brewers, how much can I possibly put of any one of those bourbon components into a whiskey? And it turned out I can put up to 15% corn, rye, or wheat into one of their beers, and then the other 85% would have to be malted barley. So that's what I did. I asked the brewers to make me 3 different styles of whiskeys, one with 15% corn, one with 15% rye, and one with 15% wheat. The other 85% of all 3 of those whiskeys was a malted barley. They were all 3 brewed, fermented, distilled, and aged separately. At the end of the maturation period, that's when I mingled them together in a ratio that complemented each other and in a ratio that I wanted, the final flavors to be, as opposed to the mash bill telling me how it was going to be. That said, this is what I consider. I looked at my notes on this the other night, and the thing that I wrote after kind of writing the idea out was reverse bourbon. So basically, most bourbons have anywhere between 5 and 15% malted barley. That malted barley is mainly just for starch conversion. The enzymes in that malted barley help with the conversion from starch to sugar. It's not really in there for much of a flavor component. Then you have corn, which is your main flavor component, obviously in bourbons. This is sitting at around, after the blend, it's sitting at around 20% malted corn. Then we have the next on the mash bill list after the blend is we're sitting at about 17% malted wheat. Then rye, you guys mentioned all that spicy characteristic, and it does come through very heavy. You have a lot of you've got a lot of baking spices and Christmas spices, nutmeg and cinnamon. Rye only contributes about 5% of this final blend, which kind of makes people think, just because it does come off spicy. And originally I had thought that I was going to use more rye than wheat. And it turned out that that just wasn't, it wasn't as balanced as this final whiskey is. And so it is at cask strength. It is 116 proof, 58% ABV. The reason I wanted to release it at that cask strength was so that the consumers, you guys, could actually literally change it however you wanted it. If I were to set this out at 100 proof, then you would never know what it was going to taste like at 112, and that might be your sweet spot. If I release it at 90, you'd never know what it was at 100. And so releasing this product at cask strength allows you guys to really change it however you want. Add a couple of drops of water, let it open up and find that kind of sweet spot with just drop by drop water. Put it on a large format ice cube and just slowly drink it down and watch it and smell it change literally in your glass as you slowly bring it down in proof.
And it does.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing the same thing right now tonight. Because it's just finding that sweet spot. But I think it's not just, it's not just the drink, but it's also meant to be, you guys have fun with whiskey, and it shows. And I want you guys to have fun with everything and make it your own. Make it your own cocktail. Throw it in whatever you want. I don't try to pretend to tell people how to drink their whiskey, and this is just that way for me to express that for you guys. So, cheers.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Absolutely. Cheers. We say Probst, by the way.
Probst. My grandfather was 100% German. So yeah.
So a couple questions. I mean, this what's the price point on this bottle?
Price point on this bottle is $75. Currently, we're only at the distillery. We do have plans to distribute. We're just waiting for that distribution to come through. Probably in the next 2-3 weeks, something like that. It should be hitting shelves. There were about 1,100 bottles made this year. This is going to be a continuing product for us. That is going to be, basically when this one sells out, you'll have to wait for the next one. But we're making about this. It's going to be the same amount year to year. And so
you're gonna,
go
sorry,
ahead. You're fine.
are you gonna try and keep the flavor consistent, or is it gonna change and evolve?
The flavor, that's a great question, because when it comes to craft distilling, obviously consistency is key. But in my mind, I really like the evolution of whiskey, and everything is constantly changing. Your mash bill is pretty much going to stay the same. Your yeast is going to stay the same, but those barrels and where they're housed and the conditions that they're housed in for the amount of time that they're housed in those conditions, everything's kind of changing. And so as long as it evolves for the better, that's what I'm going to keep on creating. We're going to probably stay pretty consistent, but if something changes, I'm not afraid to, just make subtle little tweaks here and there and see what happens from year to year. So it's going to be a neat thing to go ahead and, grab a bottle and, hang on to a little bit, and then from year to year, just see how they're changing, because that's just the way it is. Even large scale distilleries, people are searching out different whiskeys from different years because of different distillers. Everything's always changing, but for the most part, we'll probably stay pretty consistent. The other thing that will change, because these will be released cask strength, those proofs are going to probably change around a little bit, which will change the flavor. I will mention also, which I really kind of like about this whiskey, this is some of our oldest whiskeys. This was 5 years in the make. I started this plan 5 years ago and actually started putting it to play shortly after that. So the youngest, you'll see on the bottle, the youngest is actually 34 months on that. It's probably hard to see with that light, but 34 months is the youngest whiskey in there. The oldest whiskey is closer to just under 4 years on this blend. And so this next whiskey that's coming up, these barrels that are coming up in age are right along that same line. There's some grandpa barrels going in here, Texas aging considering.
So, and I wanted to read the back of this. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the result is a beautiful marriage of Mexican vanilla, which we had vanilla picked out, caramel, macadamia, coconut aromas that carry over onto the palate along with creme brulee and nutmeg. And the whiskey finishes with an unmistakably rich flavor that lends itself perfectly to sipping neat. One of the things I like to talk to distillers about, there's a couple things. First, you have on here twice distilled.
Yes.
Can you maybe talk to us briefly about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So all of our whiskeys are twice distilled. And what that means is that we are getting our fermented beer that is going directly into the still. Now that fermented beer has some compounds in there that can be cleaned up. And so what we'll do is, we'll take that beer and we'll do what's called a wash run. And that wash run is basically just stripping the alcohol out of that beer. We're getting all of the ethanol out and most of that flavor from that particular wash. Then we'll take that, we'll do that about 3 to 4 times, because we're only getting about 20% of the volume out of that beer into ethanol. So that wash will go into another tank. We'll do that again with another beer. And I'm telling you this, we do it this way because we only have one still. Other larger distilleries will have 2 stills, one very large still and one kind of about half the size. And that way they can do one wash run and put that one wash run directly into the smaller still to be rerun again. Whereas we only have one still, so I have to run 3 to 4 distillations of wash runs before I get the volume of what we call low wines to go back into the still again. It's a little inefficient, but we're a small distillery. We have room to grow, but that's how it works over there. So then we'll do another distillation. That second distillation is to clean the spirit up, and that's where I'm actually going to be making the cut points. And the reason we distill it twice as opposed to 3 times is that the more and more that you distill something, the cleaner you're getting it. You're extracting more oils, you're extracting more flavors. And so if you think about it that way, a vodka to get completely neutral will go through a distillation basically 20 times, or 18 to 20 times. And those columns in between a pot still and the condenser for those vodka distilleries, each one of those windows is a plate that's acting as another distillation. And so each plate that the vapor goes up through, it's being strained through a bubble cap, and that actually acts as another distillation, holding back flavor at this plate. Then it goes up to the next plate. That one's going to hold back flavor up to the next plate until it basically gets to the top and it's a neutral flavor spirit. That's why vodka has very little to no flavor in it at all. But you can still get, vodkas are still pretty neat because I mean, I'm not going to down talk on vodka. Depending on what you're making it from, you can get, its textures, and you do get some flavors depending on the original wash, the yeast, and things like that still carry over into that final flavor, even though it's technically a neutral spirit.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've had bison grass vodka, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that bison grass vodka. But by the way, I have a picture of your still up on here right now, and one of the things I love talking about the still, there's some unique features on it. But one is your line arm. You've got a pretty shallow angle on that line arm compared to, if you guys remember on Thursday, we talked to Westward Whiskey, and we were looking at his line arm that had like a 45-degree angle on it. This is what, about 20, 22?
Yeah, it's nowhere near 45 or anything like that, but it's also not 90.
Right.
So the line arm angle is what's allowing less refraction and more oils to pass through if it's at a more solid downward angle. The reason being, obviously, just kind of gravity. As things heat up, they're going to start to fall down once they start to cool down. And so if you are bringing it down, you're basically forcing that vapor, that hot vapor, directly down into the condenser. Whereas if you lift it up just ever so slightly, you're going to get a little less of that refraction, or a little more refraction to come back down into the pot area. And if you go 90, even more, you're going to end up catching more flavor back into the pot, and it's going to be a little bit cleaner. And if you go upwards, it's going to be that much more cleaner. More oils are going to drop down and refract down. Now, ours is about that 20-degree angle, because we have a very large onion. As you can see, our onion is almost a third of the size of the still. And that was specifically designed for that refraction, so that the vapor had somewhere to basically go, collect around, and then just drop back into the still. And basically it's not redistilling, but it's allowing a lot of those flavors to kind of just stay in the still. But then that downward arm is going to counteract whatever does come through. That very clean spirit after the onion is going to be have a little bit more oils than if we were to be 90 or straight up and down. So we do like our whiskeys to have an oil characteristic, to have those legs, to have a viscosity that linger. It basically allows, oils in whiskey basically allow flavors to last longer on the palate. They kind of coat the mouth. As you're breathing in and out, it's oxidizing and it's pulling out all those different flavors, as opposed to being too clean and you just drink it, you taste it, and it's just gone. And so that's something that we really like, is just those lingering flavors with those oils. So
before we go much further, I want to hit some of your traditional products, and the Texas Hill Country Signature was kind of the first major releases, I guess, that you guys really came out with.
Yeah. So the Signature, when I started there, I kind of got a feel for what the program they wanted to run was. They wanted to make whiskey from their beer styles, and they had a couple that they were looking at, and I looked at the mash bills and I was like, these are great, these are perfect. One is 100% two-row malted barley, but it has a Belgian yeast strain on it, which is a huge flavor component in whiskeys, especially when you're using two-row. That is kind of that kiln level is a little bit more of a neutral flavored malt, and so that yeast strain is what is adding that flavor. And Belgian yeast strains promote flavor of banana and clove in whatever you're distilling, beer, whiskey. It actually translates over into whiskey as well. So that's what makes that specific whiskey special. I guess I didn't mention that's made from our Belgian triple, the Devil's Backbone. Then the other whiskey that we turn into, beer that we turn into whiskey, is the Real Heavy Scotch Ale. And that one has 7 different malts in it, one of them being a peated malt. And that peated malt is in such a low ratio that it just allows just a nuance of smoke. So those 2 beers are brewed, fermented, distilled, and aged separately, making 2 very distinctly different styles of beer. And then I'm mingling those together to make one product. And that's our signature whiskey.
So this is just a single barrel of that Same release. And now I'm gonna drop out of the slides here real quick, guys, and we're gonna hold up a couple bottles and show you a couple of the other things that Davin has done. Which you guys hear me say it all the time. You're getting ready to hear me say it again.
It's
One
your
of my
favorite.
favorites. Last year, Davin released this with us at this same event last year. We helped do the release of this, which was their rye grain straight malt whiskey. And this is well, I'll let Davin tell us about this.
Yeah, this is actually one of the components in the straight malt whiskey, the Distiller's Edition. So that is 15% malted rye, 85% malted barley. That was basically the beginning of this. Like I said, it was about 5 years in the make. I believe those are 27 months. But the oldest barrel in that is, again, closer to probably
34.
Yeah. But we did release that last year. Then some of the brother and sister barrels that were part of that went into the Distiller's Edition. So those were some of the older ones. But yeah, that one is a very unique whiskey in the fact that rye really comes out. It's apparent, but you only need about 15% for, those flavors to kind of come out. And again, it's a matter of, because I'm at a brewery making, whiskey out of lemons kind of thing. Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of those characteristics to create something that you want.
So one of the other bottles that you guys came out with, which was their your double barrel, and this was in partnership. You had limited releases of this, and this one is batch 5.
That's batch 5. Okay, so that was a fun one. That was made with that was finished in a rumble barrel.
Balcones Rumble.
Yes, Balcones Rumble barrel. Balcones Rumble is one of my favorite spirits. I think it's one of the most unique things that I've ever tasted. I'm a big brandy fan, so and obviously I kind of like a little bit off the wall. So if it's not whiskey, it's not brandy, I'm probably gonna steer towards it. And they knocked it out of the park with that, with fig, honey, and sugar on that. So they aged their rumble in those barrels. I just borrowed one of their barrels and finished one of our whiskeys in it, and that was the batch 5 double barrel.
So you guys have done some other things in partnership, and this was the Signature Select that you guys did with partnership with Texas Whiskey Trail.
Yeah,
this was the Texas Whiskey Trail bottle, and I see Ken's holding up his bottle there as well.
Oh yeah.
Another limited release. This was aged 26 months.
Yeah. So that was another fun one for me, because it got me the opportunity to kind of share a little bit more in the blending world with the Texas Whiskey Association. That was also in collaboration with Total Wine. It is exclusively available at Total Wine. That's the only place that you can get it. We don't even have it at the distillery. But it was very neat to be able to explain to people why I love blending so much. So that is a port finished it says port finish on the bottle, but it's actually a mingling of 3 different whiskeys, 2 of the components that make up our signature whiskey, hence the name Signature. And then I added another blending component, which was a whiskeys. There was a few different whiskeys that were actually finished in port wine barrels. And so we brought everybody together to from the Texas Whiskey Trail.
Trail, yeah.
Yeah, it gets confusing to me as well. And we did a little blending course and explained what that means. The way I kind of explain it to people is I really enjoy it because you're basically, when you're making different whiskeys and putting them in different barrels, you're making different flavors and you're creating a flavor palette, just as an artist would with color. They have several different colors people have seen before, but you're putting all of those colors together in a ratio that, A, complement each other, B, are unique, and C, are well balanced. And that's what you're basically doing with whiskey. And so it's a completely different art, and extremely fun to play with those flavors and take several different things and create one single unicorn. And so, yeah, that was the signature select.
So before we go into, you also have a gin, and we'll get to the awesome tall bottle back here. Before we do that, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of, not everybody here knows who Davin Topel is. And I want to give you the opportunity to kind of tell a little bit about your story, because none of you guys realize who Davin is or where he came from. We're not touting that distillery, but it certainly gives credibility to a guy sitting here talking about blending and craft distilling and having the opportunity to have someone like Brad say, come on in and have fun. That doesn't get to happen very much for someone like you who's been in the industry as long as you have. But tell us a little bit about who you are and where you came from.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It doesn't happen that often. That's one of the great things about working at Real Ale is that the creative freedom that they allow me to have has been, outstanding and bar none, one of the funnest jobs that I've had. So, but yeah, my background is I was a distiller for High West, learned a lot there. Before that, the way that I got into distilling was basically just conversation with my dad, who started brewing beer at home probably 13 years ago, and the conversation quickly transferred over to how is whiskey made. And to this day, I still haven't made a beer. I just went straight into whiskey. So at the time, I was living in Park City, Utah, when I kind of went into that rabbit hole. And lo and behold, there's a distillery in Park City, and somebody had mentioned that I need to go talk to the head distiller over there. So I did, and he liked what I had to say. And it was a great opportunity for me to shift careers. And that's where I kind of got my start in legitimate distilling, was at High West. And I learned quite a bit from them. We were propagating our own yeast for the mashes, mashing our own our own whiskeys, and then distilling them. Not many people are propagating their own yeast. I had a crash course in microbiology and sensory abilities through High West. And so they definitely refined my palate and my ability. And so after that, I was there for about 2.5 years. And then my wife and I started having kids, and we decided to move closer to family. Mine's in Minnesota, hers is in Texas. We chose the
You compromised.
I'm still confident in that decision. I love Texas. I feel like we should have done this 10 years ago. I know I've told you that, James. But I love Texas. One of the reasons being is I'm also an outdoorsman. I live to fish and hunt, quite literally. On the weekends, I'm a fishing and hunting guide at Spoke Hollow Outfitters in Wimberley, Texas, where I'll take you fly fishing on the Guadalupe for trout, on the San Marcos for bass, and then we'll go quail hunting on our 1,000-acre ranch that my business partner has out there as well. So it's always been a passion of mine, and so being able to fish and hunt year round I should have moved here a long time ago.
Well, this really kind of lends itself to the part that I know several people are interested in. And by the way, did you had something you wanted to say to someone, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to make a special cheers and toast to somebody, and I wanted to do it with Totem, and we'll get into explaining that here in a second. But there's a little ritual behind Totem that I created, and that was it's meant to be drank for prosperity and good luck in any adventure or anything in your life, really. And so the way that you're going to do it is I actually had Brave Ceramics out of Austin create these copitas for me. And I'm not sure if any of you have seen them for sale, but they are for sale at the distillery, but nobody really knows what or how to use them. So what it is they are small glasses. You have your cup or your copita, and then you have a lid. And what you're going to do is you are going to take a bit of Totem.
Oh, Vince.
Can we light it on?
And then you're going to light it on fire.
Nice.
And And what that does is it awakens the spirit, lets it know that you're there. And you're going to then take that lid that is rimmed with honey and you're going to put it out. You're going to then lift that off. Your rim is now full of honey. You're going to then drink it back. And that should give you good luck and prosperity. And I wanted to cheers and toast and designate that one to Jeff Ross on your new job. Congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
I'm definitely going to enjoy, seeing you make the best of that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
So
I love that stuff. God, I forget how
So
much
is
I
that-
love that.
Is that available in anywhere?
it's available only at the distillery. It's once a year distilled. And so I'll explain that. So what it is
I'm going to put up the slide real
Yeah.
quick. So as
Yeah,
you
go
talk
ahead.
about it, the slide will be up there.
yeah.
It's available at Total Wine too, I think, right now.
Yeah,
Only
there's
weekdays.
a few Total Wines. Last year's batch made it to Total Wine, and they did not sell out of them yet. It's kind of still a hidden bottle on the
Which Total
shelves.
Wines? That's what we need to know.
Yeah. I know the one my Total Wine had some the other week over in Bee Cave, the new Total Wine.
Yeah.
And you may find them there. Otherwise, they're going to be at the distillery. But yeah, so if you're familiar with mezcal or pachuga, mainly, that's where I drew the inspiration for Totem. So what I did was I adopted the distillation practice of pachuga. And what pachuga is the mezcaleros will make a mezcal, but they'll add nuts, fruits, berries, botanicals from around their area into the still during their distillation. The other main component besides those botanicals is they use a protein. That protein is typically a chicken breast or a turkey breast, and that is hung in the still during the distillation practice. What that's doing is it's a raw piece of meat hanging above the boiling distillate or the boiling mash or wash, and as that is boiling, that's cooking the meat. And then the meat will start to drip its fat and juices down into the still. Those are then carried over through vapor over into the final product. And what it does is it doesn't really necessarily add the flavor of the meat as much as it adds the oil content. And so it creates a body and mouthfeel. And so what I've done is, obviously, we're not making mezcal. I'm not going to get a maguey or agave from around this area. It's very labor intensive. It's also the Oaxacan people's pride, spirit, and I'm not trying to take that away from them. What it is I just literally adopted the distillation practice of adding the nuts and fruits, botanicals, and meat to a distillation. And so the way that I've done it is I've chosen some botanicals from around our area, and I go ahead and forage these, but we use Fredericksburg peaches, dewberries from around our property, pecans, rosemary, lavender that is so readily available in Blanco. We've got bottle brush, which has become kind of our house botanical. We use that in our gin as well. I believe we're the only distillery utilizing the leaves of the bottle brush. I will put in smoked chilies, lemon, grapefruit, and orange peel. Then for the protein, I use the ham of a hog. That hog is harvested from our ranch out in Spoke Hollow. So I literally go and hunt that hog year to year, and we'll take the ham from that hog and utilize that for our distillation. So it just kind of is a blend of both my passions for the outdoors and for distilling. And when I learned about pachuga many years ago, I just didn't know what better way to do that was than to make a spirit.
And you actually went down to Mexico and spent some time with them.
Yeah, it was, we did that last year, right as things were starting to shut down. We got back like March 1st. We had a couple of weeks and then everything went down. But before, when we were leaving, none of this was coming up. Nothing was there. We were there for a full week and a half, something like that. And we went down there just to visit the different palenques and distilleries and just kind of get a better feel for the spirit itself and how it's made. And so we visited several different distilleries, Gracias a Dios, which make an amazing mezcal, pachuga, but they're also making an amazing gin, mezcal gin. I don't think that there's anybody else making a mezcal gin. And so they basically they adopted the gin practice and they just took the meat out of the pachuga practice and they added juniper. And their gin it's something else, just that smoky, light juniper. Definitely, it's available if you guys ever want to go check it out at a liquor store. I highly recommend it if you're gin drinkers. But then we also, what's that?
I think you need to bring those bottles over here to the Probst GUild library and we need to have a sharing party.
Yeah, we can do that. I loved it. I mean, I've been waiting, I got all these bottles from Oaxaca and I've been waiting to share them. And I got back and like, oh no.
Have you met Oscar Montoya?
Over at Gracias a Dios? Yeah, he's my hermano now. Yeah.
So, Karis and I actually went through the International Wine Spirits Guild. We went through the Spirit Sommelier.
Okay.
So we went through that with Oscar and we tried. I mean, that guy is a plethora of knowledge, especially when it comes to this stuff. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of went off on a tangent there. Davin, totem is a word that for us coming from the Pacific Northwest, we're thinking of totem poles, which are spirit animals, although we listed. Is there a meaning to totem?
That's kind of where again, it's kind of that North American, it is. Totem is, so what totem specifically means is it's a thing, and usually it's an animal, but it is a symbol of, a spirit that is going to take you into the next world or give you prosperity or give you good luck. And typically it's in a charm, it's carried through an animal. And so you'll have a totem animal. And so being that I'm utilizing, an animal and I've created that ritual of good luck and prosperity. That was kind of the meaning behind the name totem. It's meant to be drank as more of as a tool in life versus something to get lit up on. I want you to bring it, and sometimes they go hand in hand. But I want you, it's meant to be brought with you on your adventures or your next chapter in life, like Jeff's new job. It's meant to promote good luck and prosperity and evoke good feelings no matter where it is or how you're doing it.
So we should start making that our traditional drink every year at our Probst GUild anniversary.
Oh, our Probst GUild anniversary party. Yes.
Yeah.
Is there going to be another spirit animal? Do you have plans of having different releases of different spirit animals? Ooh.
We've thought about that. It's become, I think as the distillery grows, we may be able to do that. But as of right now, it's probably going to stay the same. I'm going to change some things up every now and again. But I believe that the spirit animal will most likely be a hog for a while. But this year, I think we're going to change up the mash bill a bit. So it's a base spirit of passion fruit and wheat and barley. So that's the other thing that makes it pretty unique is it's a hybrid between a brandy and a whiskey.
As I said, passion fruit's not something you see in a spirit usually.
Right. And to be honest with you, we use passion fruit, one, because it's a beautiful fruit, but we had some passion fruit at the brewery because we did a passion fruit wheat beer a while back. And I didn't want to make just a typical malted barley base spirit. You know, I wanted to have another flavor compound, and I wanted it to be strange, and you know, I didn't want it to be fit into a, you know, I wanted a square peg. You know, I didn't want it to fit into anything. Doesn't need to. So I use the passion fruit for that. This year, I'm going to most likely be looking at, for the fruit, I'm going to be looking at prickly pear, just because it speaks a little bit more to the Texas terroir. Yeah. So we will probably source, you know, a very good source from here in Texas, prickly pear juice. And again, we'll put that in with the base mash of the malted barley and wheat, and then ferment those together, giving us basically that hybrid whiskey brandy.
Using the patty of the cactus or the fruit?
The fruit, the actual tuna. Yeah, the red fruit. It's going to be, you know, and that's the thing is this has, you can taste kind of that, that sweet fruit characteristic. This is going to lend more like, so prickly pear fruit is kind of almost a sweet beet. It has very earthy flavors to it. And so
awesome flavor.
Yeah, and it's its own unique flavor. Like I said, it's almost like wet sand and sugar, you know. And so that is definitely, I mean, I think it's going to be all encompassing for our next spirit. So I'm hoping that works out.
You know, I think what's amazing is I can hear, and I'm sure everyone else can, your passion, not only in the distillation world, but about Totem. And I've asked this question of several distillers. Is this what you consider your signature? Is this Davin Topel in a bottle?
Honestly, I think I never really thought about that way, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's all encompassing. It takes both of my passions and puts it all into one. So yeah, I think
we had a sample of that versus what you gave us.
Well, let's see. Tony, Eric, Kendall, I might be able to bring a small sample tomorrow. I think there's just enough in this bottle I can probably squeeze it out.
Tomorrow, but I'm kind of hosed on that deal.
Oh, that sucks to be you. Wow.
I'm actually going to be in Blanco tomorrow.
So Jeff,
you can give me Tony's share.
There will be more there. I mean, we haven't run out. There is still some available at the distillery. It is not as widely known. So it's only about 300 bottles. And again, it's kind of that hidden menu item.
There is one thing that I disagree with you on though. Hunting in Minnesota, a little better than hunting down here. Come on.
Yeah. I would have to agree. It's
a little bit bigger deer.
It's a little bit bigger deer. You just have to fill every single tag here. That's what you got to do.
I spent most of my life living in Minnesota, so.
Oh, those deer are, I mean, amazing. And when I first, I'll give you a little story. When I first got my first deer down here, I went hunting. Somebody told me where to go. He's like, and I got back, I saw a deer, you know, and I got back to the truck and my buddy's like, did you see them? I was like, yeah, I saw some deer. They were babies. They were about the size of large dogs. Yeah, like, that's them.
And those are keepers we're on. You got to throw them back.
I thought they were fawns.
Yeah, I did. He's like, no, that's them. It's like, oh, okay. So I went back the next day and I was like,
a little anticlimactic.
This is what I get.
I said the same thing when I first moved down here.
Yeah. So a small dog, okay, 80, 90 pounds, or a large dog, yeah.
That really makes you want to hunt.
So Davin, I want you to tell a story, and just so you guys know, when I invite these distillers, I ask up front, is there anything off limits, and they'll tell me what's good or bad and what's not. Davin, there's a story that I loved hearing, and it was about when you asked permission to make this. Yeah. Do you remember the story I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It wasn't really an asking of permission. It was more hey, I need a label because this is already done. Yeah, it was, basically I had already made it because I knew if I explained it, might not, it wouldn't be a thing. So I went in and told them what it was and why I need a label, and that I'm going to I made a spirit with all Texas botanicals and and passion fruit and wheat and barley. Yeah. And I stuck the ham of a hog in the distillation, and that's where the yeahs stopped and we had crickets.
Did you get a what the?
Yeah, they weren't exactly sure what to think. But
Peter friendly.
Yeah,
Did
no,
you take
they
samples
in
At
all
least-
honesty, they're always supportive in anything that I do. Even no matter how off the wall it is, I love the fact that my Real Ale family supports my wacky ideas and are willing to take a chance. And Totem was just that, and they love it. And
Well, they're a little wacky too.
Yeah.
Brad. So if you haven't met Brad, I mean, one of the great stories I love telling or hearing is Brad's the owner of Rio.
Yeah.
And Brad loves whiskey, and I think he loves whiskey more than he loves beer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because he owns a brewery. And so when he brought you in, when he started this years and years and years ago, it was more of almost a hobby. But he gave you the freedom to say, go forth.
Yeah.
And make me something spectacular.
Yeah, it was when I was first getting hired, I wasn't sure what I was kind of walking into, but it was just kind of like that. Like, all right, well, we make beer. Here's the still. It hasn't been used in 6 months, since Ty moved on to his other distillery at Andalusia. And so basically, what we'd like is a whiskey. We'd also like a gin, and right away, I hadn't been hired yet, and I was just thinking in my head, like looking at the equipment, it's a potbelly still. It's not a vodka.
Column still.
Yeah, column still to make vodka, a neutral spirit. And I'm thinking like, well, do I tell them like, and I did, but it's like, well, typically we can't make gin with this kind of equipment. And Brad looked at me again. He goes, we'd like a gin.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And I think that's what got me hired. Was I was probably one of the only people that said, okay, I can do that. So now I've got to figure out how I'm going to make a gin in a pot still. Basically what it is what I've done is it's made from white whiskey. It's a grain to glass gin. He also said, that's why I had to wrap my head around it, was we are not sourcing anything. We're not sourcing GNS. We're not sourcing outside spirits. Like, everything has to be done in-house. So I just had to wrap my head around and get outside of the normal box and figure out how to put this together. And so what we did is I made essentially 2 different spirits. One was closer to a Genever, which is white whiskey that has botanicals, all the same botanicals as gin, but it's made from whiskey that's distilled 2 or 3 times. And then I made another spirit also made from whiskey, but with a higher cut point. And so this would lend more neutral flavors because I didn't let so much of the tails into what is usually in a Genever. Genevers usually are very tailsy. They're great. I love Genever. I have a bowls here right now. It's just a very unique flavor. But if you're a whiskey distiller or have had whiskey that has tails lead into the back end, you'll know what that is. And so I made 2 different spirits, one with a large cut point, one with a short cut point, and told them that, this is going to be more economical, but here's the flavor. But this one's not economical at all, but here's the flavor. And it was a big thumbs up. And I was like, you're going to allow me to make this? That's amazing. Like, nobody else would allow me to make something like that because it's so, it's very unethical, it's not going to, you're using a lot of money and not making a lot out of it, but the quality and flavor is there. And that's what Brad's all about, is quantity versus quality, or quality versus quantity all the time, every day. And luckily, the brewery is what keeps the lights on and allows me to be creative and make kind of off the wall things that most distilleries would say, no, you're not making that.
So we're coming up on the hour, and I've monopolized a lot of time. Brad, Davin and I can sit around and talk for hours. I love spending time with this guy. I love his spirits. I love introducing it to people. And Zach, Zach, can I pick on you for half a minute and tell that story about when I introduced you to Totem?
Or
So,
that's when I bought this bottle release. I think it was Valentine's Day about 2 years ago.
yeah.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got batch 5. Yeah.
Oh, batch 5. Yeah.
It was batch 5. He bought that the same day I bought mine.
Yeah,
You showed up with your girlfriend.
Yeah, LSR.
Yeah.
He just recently left.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was a sad day. It was his last day this last Thursday.
Yeah.
Very sad to see him go, but he's going to a great distillery with Chip Tate. Tate Distilling back out in Waco. He's closer to family. Couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah.
So Chip Tate helped start Falcones back in the day, and he just started some. And Elazar, who we're talking about, came from working there with Davin, and it was Valentine's Day a couple years back, and Zach has been a Probst GUild member, I think, almost since day one. Gosh, you've been with us forever.
After that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Zach showed up, and I'm like, dude, you gotta try this Totem. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And Elazar was there, and I'm like, is there any way you can give us a quick tour, take us back, show us still all that? And he's like, yeah, just come on with me. So we go back. He showed us everything. We went back. We looked at the bottling. We looked at everything, and then he brought out some Totem with the honey rimmed on the lid, done the whole 9 yards.
Except for the fire.
We didn't light it on fire. You're right.
Yeah, they wouldn't let us do that at the brewery.
Yeah, something about flames around alcohol vapors. I don't get it.
It's an open flame still.
Yeah, come on. So Zach tried that, and Zach immediately turned around and went, "Where can I get this?" He immediately turned around, went upstairs, and bought some. It was just like, bam, yes, I'm a fan. You've been a fan of this since day one, haven't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The glass is at the distillery.
Yeah, they're only at the distillery. Brave Ceramics out of Austin made them all for us. They're very talented people. So we ordered a set number of them, and there's still a few left.
Are they different colors, or are they all just that?
I need to interrupt.
They're all individually handmade for sure.
I need to interrupt for half a second, Davin. I'm again going to ask you for a personal favor.
Yeah.
And I mean, as much as we know each other, I ask you all the time for personal favors, so whatever. I need 4 glasses and 2 bottles of Totem for a wedding of one of our members.
Yeah.
It's coming up next month.
Okay.
I'm going to be out there tomorrow. I can pick it up.
Yeah.
Jeff, pick it up for me. I will Venmo you the money.
I'll get those set up for you guys. Yeah.
I need to don't buy everything because I'm there next.
Take care of me, man.
You know, you can only buy 2 bottles at a time, but Davin, if you could help us with that.
Yeah, James, if you want to get Jeff my information, and because it is closed tomorrow, we are closed tomorrow, but I can probably get something set up if Jeff is going to be in town.
I will.
We'll get those set up for you guys.
I want the date
Now,
set.
you do know that Jeff Ross is a fan of High West. I mean, Jeff, show us.
I saw those bottles in the background. You even have the silvers, and those.
Dude,
yeah,
the dram. I tasted the dram and what we tried tonight.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my question, Davin. Did you bring any of that influence over with you? Did you? I mean, intentional or not?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, obviously, I learned a lot over at High West. And so that's where I learned, blending and how important blending is and what it means. And there's a lot of negative context in blending out there in the world, just through reading, people reading the wrong articles. And it's what I'd like to do is I'd like to prophesize as, what blending is actually, and doing it within your own distillery and creating several different colors and flavors in your own distillery is neat and awesome. But even if you're not doing that, and you're taking from other distilleries, I still would be very proud to be able to do that and take several different flavor palettes and put them together in a cohesive manner, the same way as like a somebody else I look up to is Compass Box. Their whiskeys
yeah.
are, bar none, some fantastic skill levels of creating balance and uniqueness. And I think more distilleries need to go ahead and be transparent for those reasons. There's just as much of an art as distilling.
Yes. Other questions for Davin?
Okay,
Oh,
I'll just jump in
Go ahead.
first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I was late.
No,
So
you're fine.
I'm skipping a lot, but because it's a small crowd, on a personal, Davin, by chance, Wednesday after lunch, are you going to be around and possible to see?
I should be Wednesday.
I'm sorry, a week, not this Wednesday, the 28th.
The 28th. Yeah, I think I'll be around.
Okay.
I'll be around. I'm usually there. As of right now, we're still trying to figure out how things are going to be run with Elazar gone and things like that. But I would be down there. Yeah. Next week.
I want to talk barrel transfers and other stuff as well.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We can
Cool.
definitely.
Hopefully I'll be able to meet up.
Again, yeah, get my information from James. Be happy to talk to you about that and figure something out for you for sure.
Perfect.
What we tried tonight, will it be available tomorrow at the distillery?
Yes, the Distillers Edition is currently available, but it's only at the distillery until distribution picks it up, which again should be hopefully less than a couple weeks. But we do plan on having this at Total Wine, Specs, and anybody that'll carry us. But Total Wine is usually our go-to.
Very good. And then the chupacabras or whatever will be there tomorrow.
The totem will be there as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, the little glass.
The copitas. Yeah, they'll be there.
Chupacabra, whatever.
Yeah, no, we definitely have some glasses left over. So
okay.
-4. Are y'all open this Saturday?
Yes, we are open Saturday. Tap room is open Friday and Saturday for cocktails. Obviously, we have gin, whiskey cocktails. We are working with our bar manager is a fantastic mixologist making awesome cocktails. She's made a margarita with Totem, and obviously all of our beers. And I don't know if anybody's heard yet, but we are now offering seltzer.
Awesome. Well,
And Amber's really awesome too.
Yeah, Amber is the bar manager that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The mixologist. She's an amazing mixologist. So she does wonderful things with our spirit.
I'm planning on going to see y'all Saturday. If anybody else wants to take a ride to Blanco.
Yeah. We're open, I believe, on Saturday. We should be open at 11 till 7, something like that.
Mr. Bro, should I have Jeff not pick up the stuff for your wedding, or should we wait for Saturday?
Well, what I'm picking up is not for the wedding. It's for something else on May 3rd.
Okay. Well,
But
we're
yeah.
having.
Have James tell me what I need to pick up tomorrow. I've got a pickup truck and it's a long bed, so we should have plenty of room.
I mean, if you want to do that for a wedding, that's awesome. But we haven't set a date yet.
Well, I know May 3rd is not the date because you haven't informed me, but I know May 3rd. I know what that's all about too, my friend.
All right.
So hey, we are.
Glad you haven't set a date yet.
We're coming up right to the edge of the hour here, so I don't want to take up too much more of Davin's time. What I really wanted to get across to you guys, and this is important to me. One of the things that I love about Texas and the distilleries we have in Texas is the craftsmanship. And I think this is something that is missing from some of the counterparts in other parts of the country. And I'm not specifically pointing east, but if you go east, you'll know what I'm talking about. They've lost the craftsmanship, in my opinion. There's still some good stuff coming out of there, but we have some craftsmanship happening here. And what we've tried tonight is a prime example where he went and he put 3 different grains, made 3 different whiskeys and blended those and came up with a bottle. That is not something that you see happening anywhere else in the country with any other distillery. And to have that ability, to have that craftsmanship, to have someone like Davin with his resume behind him doing that, I think it's hidden and it's lost, and we need to celebrate that. We need to lift that up. And you guys need to try the Totem. You need to try that signature whiskey. And you need to not be afraid of visiting the distilleries and trying the products they have, because it might not be available at your corner liquor store. But Texas has some truly hidden gems, and we have some truly hidden talent in this state. Davin is one of those. And Davin, I'm picking on you. He's a humble,
Making me blush.
he is a very humble man. Very humble man. He is more comfortable out there fly fishing and hunting. And Davin, give yourself a plug. You don't just be a guy. You do stuff for charity, for the special needs. This is something that, I mean, you see Tony wearing the Corporal Chad O shirt. You know, I'm a veteran. Tell us about that side business, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so we do a lot of mentoring. We take a lot of people out into the outdoors that are not normally used to going out to the outdoors and trying to open up that space for anybody. And so we, the owner of the Spoke Hollow Outfitters, and I started doing a podcast called The Sporting Diversity, trying to get more diversity out into the outdoors. You know, people of color and, men, women, and, children that we're just trying to get as many people out in the outdoors and appreciate it as much as we do, because I mean, we're all advocates for, we're just trying to get more advocates for the outdoors in general, so that we can share that with our children and their children. The less people that are out there, the less space we're going to end up having in the long run. So we do mentored fly fishing trips. I was just on I just took out, we had a mentored fly fishing trip through Stewards of the Wild, which is a part of Texas Parks and Wildlife, getting people into the outdoors that might not normally be out in the outdoors, and just getting them excited. We are going to be working with some more veterans and getting them outside. Project Healing Waters is a organization that's been near and dear to me for over the years, where we, they take vets, wounded vets out, vets in general, out into fly fishing to get their mind off of whatever it is, because there's just so much focus that you have to have in fly fishing and just being outside. And it's a natural medicine for a lot of people. And so, yeah, anything that we can do to help people, help nature, and get people outside, that's what we are passionate about as well.
I'm going to tag on to that slightly. And I've got, Ian here is also a veteran, and we both have some PTSD issues. So if you guys know me, that's definitely something I suffer from. And you're right. Me being in the outdoors, I can either go to my combat experience and my time outdoors with that and the memories are associated with that, or I can relearn new memories and being outdoors of being something fun and exciting and something I look forward to. And groups like yours and what you are doing are so important to us to help us create new memories for that space, for that smell, for that vision. And it's absolutely necessary. And so I love supporting you and what you guys are doing. But beyond that, Real Spirits, I absolutely love your guys' product. And like I said at the beginning, you guys hear me say this every time. Oh, it's one of my favorite. I'm not kidding that this straight malt rye, when Davin got us this bottle, a couple of you guys were on this last year when we did this. I cracked this thing and I drank it when we poured out the samples for everyone. I didn't want to give up the rest of the bottles. It was that good. We went and we bought 2, 3. We then started sharing it. We took this around to Chris Seals over at Still Austin. Yeah. Chris, dude, you got to try this. Zach, we had you try this.
Yeah.
We took it to different distilleries, and ambassadors. Like, oh, you guys got this is it.
Chris bought it online.
Yeah,
and we picked it up.
Chris, we had the owner of Still Austin buy it online for us to go pick up and bring it back to him. He loved it that much. And I think that is a testament to what's happening in Texas with the craft distillers and just the distillers we have. Is it's not a competition by any means. No. It is actually a shared passion, and everyone raises and lifts each other up and supports each other and says, I tried this. You should try doing something like this, or this worked for me in this way, or you have this kind of still, I have that kind of still. It's not going to work, or it worked for me, or whatever. That is unique, I think, to what's happening in Texas. And you go to other places and it's, oh, whoa, this is IP. I can't share that with you. Get out. And I love that about what's happening here. And Davin, I love what you're doing out there. You know, I've been a fan of your guys since we did the Blanco hat trick. The first Blanco hat trick that Texas Whiskey Trail had was our club out there. And we actually, I think we did the first tour of your facility out there.
Yeah. It was, I mean, we didn't do a lot back then. And you guys, I definitely remember, were like the first ones storming the gate, all about it. And, you know, and I appreciate that. Like it, you know, I love other prophets of whiskey and, you know, people who share the passion. And it, like we said, like you said, we could talk about this all night and I don't care. I didn't even know it was up on the hour, and it was just like, already, like, we could just talk about this into the next morning. And because it's not just whiskey, it's a philosophy. It works into so many different facets of your life and opens up so many doors. It doesn't, I know negatively it can close a lot of doors for some people if it's drank too much, but for people like us and, you know, people who appreciate whiskey and are passionate people in general, begot passion, you know. So I love the community that you guys have created.
So last thing I'll say is we will have another gin event that will be multiple gins. Zach, you participated in our last one, and Davin and Real Spirits was part of the last one. We will have another total gin event that's just going to be gin with different gins, different cocktails. We'll have a bartender blending them up so you can try them in different ways. And Real Spirits gin will be part of that. Again, I offer up, my bar is open to anybody. If you want to try any of these products, feel free to get with me. I'm happy to share this stuff out. I enjoy sharing this stuff. Totem is absolutely something. If you have not tried it, if you have not tried Pachuga, you gotta try this. This is absolutely fantastic. It tastes nothing like what you've had before.
We share it then.
Yeah, he was like, we should be sharing that. It's mine, Derek.
Saturday, James. Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah. I will bring this Saturday, Michael. I will absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. Davin, again, my friend, I really appreciate tonight. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you guys all so much for having me and for listening to me rant once again.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.